We are appointed as the quantity surveying consultant for a commercial project in Kuching. Quantity surveyors are responsible to provide many services for the client. What is one of the services? In this video, we are going to explain what is bills of quantities and how to prepare it. Bills of quantities is prepared by quantity surveyors to be used in a construction project. It is used to list out descriptions, measured quantities, units, rates, amount of all items for all the elements involved. There are three main steps that need to be followed in order to produce a complete and relevant bills of quantities. First, obtain complete drawings from the architects and engineers. Quantity surveyors will then abstract all the relevant information from the drawings to be used in the BQ. Remember that the drawing number is required for further reference to avoid confusion and error. The list of drawings will be part of the tender document. The quantity surveyors and assistant quantity surveyors must review the drawings to highlight any discrepancies between the architectural and structural drawings.
Step 2. Do taking off inquiry. Prepare a list shows all items to be taken off. Ensure the following are included in the top of taking off list: project job title, element, and take off. Then observe the drawings. Taking off list present in 3 columns: item, description, unit. Taking off should be made based on standard method of measurement SMM2. Element in taking off can be measured in number, area, length, volume, or weight. Can do necessary assumption in clear list in terms of dimension, method, and material. Project job title, element, taken off need to be included in top of query list. Taking off and query shall be compiled as reference in the future.
Step 3. Do bills of quantities. Present BQ by creating tables with 6 columns: item, description, quantity, unit, rate, amount. Fill in the tables in BQ with all the required items for every element involved in the project according to taking off quantities carried out previously. Abbreviations shall not be used when writing descriptions in BQ. The rate in BQ shall be filled with price per unit for every item. Next, the amount for an item will be calculated by multiplying the rate with the quantity of the item. The sequence of the items written in BQ shall follow the order of items written during taking off quantities previously. In addition, start with a new page for a different element. After doing all BQ for every element, create a summary to show the total amount of each element.
Now, let us talk about the special scene where thus the contractor is entitled for the loss and expenses and the extension of time. The issue we have here is that the private development of mixed commercial project in Kuching, Sarawak was progressing well but then stopped unexpectedly because of the Movement Control Order (MCO) to control the spread of the COVID-19. The client is anxious about the possibility of the loss and expenses and the extension of time which may be requested by the contractor appointed for this project. The client has asked us for advice on the Standard Operation Procedure (SOP) involved to ensure that the company prepares well ahead of the contractor in the event of their submission for any claimant. COVID-19 has caused global alarm where it was officially declared a pandemic on the 11th March 2020 by the World Health Organization. Due to the prolonged pandemic outbreak, the contractors are unable to perform their obligation regularly and diligently. At present, it is vital for both parties to have a consideration in terms of extension of time and the loss on expenses to enable the contractor to continue outstanding works.
There are 3 possibilities notice that may enable contractor to claim for EOT and loss and expense according to Contract PEM 2018 with quantities. Firstly, contractor may claim under clause 23.8a since the pandemic is categorized as the force majeure situation. Under this clause, contractor not entitled for loss and expense because it is beyond the control of him and client. Second possibility, the project itself will be granted with EOT if there is occurrence of situation as in the clause 23.8w. Non-payment by the client that make the contractor to determine his own employment and compulsory suspension due to architect or consultant supervision withdrawal. Third possibility is postponement or suspension of works instructed by architect or client can enable the contractor to make claimant for both because the delay in works not caused by contractor's default.
There are several criteria and items where the contractor may be eligible to claim for the loss and expenses that have been suffered from the period of the issuance of MCO. First, rental costs for plant and machineries on site. Payment for the work of the site manpower, additional costs for the preliminaries and generally item, costs in maintaining his office operation and including the rental of premises, loss of profit if there is a price changes on goods and material, loss of interest on the construction loan secured by the contractor.
The government has ordered all business to stop operating due to the spreading of COVID-19, and later the government had announced that on the 15th of April 2020, the construction sector may resume the operation under certain conditions. However, a commercial project such as mixed development project can only be allowed to resume on the 4th of March 2020.
Generally, all contractors are required to comply with the standard operating procedure according to PEM Contract 2018. If the contractor is liable for extension of time, he needs to submit a written notice to the architect by providing the details in further 28 days or any specific period as stated by the architect. The architect will provide a feedback in the form of written notice to the contractor's application within 6 weeks after receiving the requested details. Extension of time will be granted to the contractor if the cause of delay are likely or have been affected by the said relevant events. Then, the architect will be responsible to review and revise the new completion date as it needs to be made fairly and reasonably. If the amount of liquidated ascertained damages is affected during the revision of a new completion date, the client will be responsible to repay the surplus amount within the period of honouring certificates.
The SOP for contractor to claim for loss and expense.
Firstly, the contractor submit a written notice to architect claim for loss and or expense with all necessary supporting documents within 28 days from architect instruction or the start of occurrence of the matters under clause 24.3. Second, the contractor submit all complete particulars to architect and quantity surveyor within 28 days after the matters under clause 24.3 have ended. Next, the contractor is responsible to keep all the records of his claim and provide free charge of copies for supporting documents to both architect and quantity surveyor to be assessed. The relevant matters can be referred to clause 24.3 to determine the entitlement of the contractor to claim for loss and or expense. Lastly, the amount of loss and or expense will be ascertained by architect and quantity surveyor and will be added to the contract sum. Such amount will be included in interim certificate.